Hello and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at my absolute dream ship, the RSI Orion. This capital class mining vessel is one of the ultimate goals for any high level industrial organisation, wading through asteroid fields in deep space and turning them into mountains of space cash. Now I'm in no way saying that I expect this massive mining platform to be released anytime soon. I think it would realistically crash any semblance of game economy that we have in the near term. But periodically, I like to pick out ships that interest me and gather all of the sporadic information from releases and Q&As that I can find, just to position it neatly for folks in one video. As ever, if you look down in the video description, I'll include a section with links to all of my sources if you'd like to do any further research yourself. So if this sounds good to you, grab a cup of tea while I roll the intro, then let's get into it. As ever with this channel, I would stress that this is in no way a recommendation to go out and spend real dollars, pounds, euros or yen on this ship. As we'll come on to, we don't even know how the Orion will work or how many crew members will be required. Plus I always like to put front and centre that you don't need anything more than a starter pack to enjoy Star Citizen. Everything can or will be able to be earned in game, and there's always going to be people in need of crew for their larger ships, happy to just cut you in on the profits. Of course, my view is always that, as adults, you earned your money and you can make your own decisions about how to spend it. But when we are talking about a $600 purchase, I'm never going to term it as worth it. If you do fancy creating an account and giving SC a go though, just be sure to use a referral code when you sign up for some extra cash. Mine's the one up on screen, but if you've got friends who play already, just ask them for theirs. The Orion is one of the two Roberts Space Industries mining ships currently in the concept stage. The other is the large-sized Arastra. But the sheer scale of the Orion dwarfs everything else in the industry. At 341 meters long, it's just shy of 100 meters larger than the already massive Aegis Idris that we have in game right now. This mining platform is part of RSI's drive to put tools in the hands of citizens so that they can compete with mega corporations. The crew requirements are a bit hazy, with a listed min of 4 and a max of 7, but given the sheer size of this beast, it's likely that you'll need at least to be running with a few friends to ensure that you can make it around the various stations. The business end of the ship harbours a large mining laser and an array of tractor beams, centred around the giant crushing maw. It's fairly safe to say that the Orion will introduce entirely new mechanics for mining. And while the designers have made some comments, these were some time ago, so you'll need to potentially forgive a little speculation and maybe if things turn out to be wrong when we get more info on the ship. In the 2017 anniversary special, designer Graham Palmer commented that the frontal array would help to drag in and slice up asteroids as the ship passed through a field. And Adam Parker added that you should expect the ship itself to display low mobility, meaning that you'll be relying on moving minables to you as opposed to moving to them. This does obviously bring up the question of just how big these tractor beams are going to be if they're going to maybe be moving entire asteroids. The ship is then designed as a funnel, with a central ore tube dragging the mats through the ship. They can then be stored in the external rotating pods, awaiting processing in the ship's onboard refinery. Now I would take everything surrounding cargo on the RSI Orion with a huge pinch of salt, or maybe just the whole shaker. In terms of numbers that we do have, the ship matrix states its capacity as 384 SEU of cargo, specifically for internal cargo storage, not ore capacity. The matrix itself doesn't state any numbers for the ore storage, although thanks Reddit for helping me dig on this one. In the 2015 Q&A for the Mist Coal B, we actually do have ore numbers, with an absolutely massive 13,824 SEU penciled in. Now, pure speculation here, I think it could be substantially more than that based on the increased scale of the ship. At its original concept, the Orion was 170 meters long, 50 wide and 50 high. But the size upgrade made in 2017 took it to its current dimensions at near enough twice this size. Currently it's looking to be roughly the same size as the Misk Hull E, which packs more than 90k of cargo. Admittedly, the Hull series ships are far more efficient, with next to no space wasted to maximise cargo room. However, in the context, I personally would think we'd easily be looking at north of 20k SEU of ore storage on board the current Orion. I would also expect that you may be able to use the ore storage to house refined goods, as was alluded to with the Misk Expanse, which will use the same storage pods for ore as for finished product. Additionally, and this is purely a personal musing, I do wonder if the spinning nature of the Orion's ore storage has a function, or if it's just rule of cool. One thing which concerns me with the utility of this ship is how it's going to handle potentially volatile ores like Quantanium. In the current game, Quant is found dotted around at random in asteroids, and you may find a cluster that contains only one small sliver of it in amongst a variety of other materials. Will we be expected to carefully survey and avoid such pieces if we lack the capacity to immediately process them within the refinery? Or does the spinning ore storage act as a stabilizer to some degree? I'm just saying, it might be best to ask questions like this at the next ship designer panel as opposed to just, when's my Banu merchantman coming? Details on the refinery itself are quite light. However, for more focused commentary on ship-based refining, we can take a look at the Q&A for the Misk Expanse. The team comment that they want ship-based refining to be a more hands-on mechanic than the totally passive station refining that we currently have in game. They will definitely be faster when compared to that station option. Players will be able to choose how much effort they put into it though, with the option to either pick from a predefined method with limited direct interaction expected, or to take a manual approach with you directly interacting with the material through grinding, melting, dissolving and more. I would absolutely love it if the two systems could become intertwined, with some mad refining scientist players cooking up methods which they can then teach others, probably for a price. We're clearly all capitalists. In the ATV episode, Adam Parker also alluded to a degree of material sorting on the Orion, with operators able to specify mats that they were looking to keep and others that they were looking to exclude, with the ability to sort into separate areas of the ore storage. This immediately had me thinking of some of the mining rigs that I've built in Space Engineers, with the ability to whitelist and blacklist certain ore types, and even to eject the unwanted materials out of the ship in order to preserve space. The sorting will also undoubtedly enhance your ability to refine efficiently, since one process may be better for a certain material than another. Where we'll have to wait and see on the Orion is more details on the exact number of refinery stations on board, how many processes will be able to run concurrently, and what will the capacity be like. Personally, I am really hoping for some more chat on refining at this year's SitCon coming up in a couple of weeks, because I really do think that refining is the most basic layer of crafting. With the latest RSI release, the Apollo, drones might be a bit of a touchy subject, but the Orion is also listed as having them on board. And to be fair, I think that by the time this ship actually releases, drone operations is a lot more likely to be a reality. There are some interesting concept drawings of utility drones, and I could see very easily how these things could be controlled from bridge stations, utilising smaller mining lasers or maybe tractor beams to cut and drag smaller pieces of rock to the moor. If you want to really go down the rabbit hole, then there's even a link in the video description to a little browser game, Alone in the Verse, that CIG put up back in 2015, that has you using drones to drag sleds of ore back from prospects to your Orion. Personally, when I look at ships, particularly concepts within SC, my main goal, as I said before, is in no way linked to deeming what's worth buying and not. Instead, I'm interested to think about how we will potentially be using these ships in the future once we've hit and passed a 1.0 version of the game. And for the Orion, I think it's fairly obvious that we're looking at a ship capable of heading out into the black for a protracted amount of time, farming its way through asteroid fields, refining as it goes, and not returning to port until it's full. Potentially, if you combine the ship into a wider reaching operation, you could have ships like Hull Cs and Ds coming to offload you in deep space, meaning that you never have to set foot on a space station again. However, this, along with some of the wider questions around refining gameplay, which CIG have stated won't continue when you're offline, does mean that in order for an Orion to really work, we'll need to see more about how permissioning of ships will work when the direct owner isn't online. And as the ship will be out for long periods of time, how bed logging will work when you aren't that owner. In order to properly operate the Orion, it's undoubtedly going to need a decent sized crew, so it would be good to be able to switch people in and out depending on their game sessions, keeping the Juggernaut rolling around the clock. For Orgs in the endgame, I can imagine that the Orion's main focus is going to be gathering bulk raw materials for crafting and building. While, as I alluded to in my video on the future of industry, smaller mining ships like the Prospector and the Mole will likely be focusing on higher quality or rare materials in the endgame, I'd see the Orion as the go-to for when you just need thousands upon thousands of SCU of base metals like iron and copper, for building your bases and your space stations. Something I think potential operators need to keep in mind though is how vulnerable the ship is. In all likelihood, the ability to operate remotely in deep space is going to be a benefit, but if there is in the future a way for ne'er-do-wells to find you and hunt you down, then this ship is unlikely to have a comprehensive armament. Given its size, I would imagine it will still have pretty epic capital class shields and undoubtedly some point defense systems, but the concept images only include a couple of defensive turrets. So the risks against determined and well-prepared pirates are definitely going to be front of mind for any Orion captain, particularly at vulnerable points such as contesting a particularly rich field of minables, or returning to port with a haul. And with this in mind, I would always encourage people to look not just at the bare crew requirements of large ships, but also at the numbers that would be required to man the combined fleets that they'll undoubtedly need to form part of. So I think we'll leave it there for this Orion review. I hope you enjoyed the vid, and if you did and think I've earned it, then please do consider hitting like and subscribing for more. And let me know down in the comments what you think of the ultimate mining endgame beast. But with all that said, thanks for watching to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.